Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to the Chicago Sports Podcast, Monsters of the Madhouse. We are so happy to have you guys with us tonight. And thank you so much for watching, whether it's on our Facebook page at the Chicago Sports Podcast, where you guys can keep up to date with everything going on in Chicago sports. We have a cool YouTube channel that you can like and subscribe to, so check that out. And if you haven't subscribed yet, what the hell are you doing with yourself? You got to go do that now, because I know Brian and CB, they've done that a long time ago. They've already done that. So you guys got to go ahead and do that now too. And also on Twitter. So there's many different ways you guys could check us out. So thank you again. I am Matt Cooper down here in beautiful Knoxville, Tennessee, and I am joined by my good buddies, CB. CB, we haven't seen you in a couple of weeks, man. How's it going?
It's not too bad. Glad I survived the tornadoes yesterday.
Yeah, literally. We were just talking about this off air. You were right down the street in Aurora, a mile away. You said that there's a tornado that hit.
Yeah, it was between It was in like a triangle, and it was like right in the middle where I'm at. I'm at the Candlewood Suites in Aurora.
Man, people don't realize how scary that can be, because I was also close to one too. It was like, I think it was actually in Louisville last year, Brian. As we bring Brian in here in a second, where we had tornadoes last year, but when they get so close like that, you don't ever think about that, and then you hear that like weird sound, and you're like, oh, okay, I get it now, and you kind of back off a little bit, man. So glad you're all right, man. Happy to see you back. You got your Bears orange on. I know you're always ready to talk some Bears.
It's not Bears, but it's orange.
Okay.
But yeah,
close enough, man.
Die hard till I die.
Glad to have you on, Brian. We got Brian in from Louisville. He's got the famous Mitch Trubisky jersey in the back, and we're happy to have you back here, Brian.
I don't know how famous it is, but
it's famous.
Yeah, it's famous. It's going on.
What's going on, man? My girlfriend just heard that. The Steelers fan in the other room. She's like, "Oh my god."
Oh yeah.
The Steelers fans don't want to hear anything about Mitch Trubisky, and hopefully
Bears don't either.
Yeah, the Steelers and Bear fans could tell you all about him.
Especially after Mahomes won the Super Bowl again.
Yeah, we don't have to be reminded by that. As we're getting ready to talk draft and draft picks, we don't want to hear about what happened in the past. That was a long time ago. Who cares about that Patrick Mahomes guy? He's just a flash in the pan, guys. He's getting lucky. They just lost their big weapon, Scantlin. They released him. So, well, thank you guys for joining us. So it is Combine Week. We were just talking about this a little bit. And I always enjoy the Combine. Now, listen, I think, is it overreaction time when it comes to the Combine? Yes, because that's when you see the different numbers that are put up and what guys look good, what guys look bad, but there's a lot of overreactions. Heck, we talked to Eric Kramer about that last week, where he pretty much downplayed all of the Combine stuff. But still, at the same time, what I get excited about the Combine is that's when the chatter really starts to begin about the offseason. I mean, yeah, the franchise tag last week, that happened, but I think this is it now. I think this is where a lot of the GMs get together, coaches get together, and they start thinking about what they want to do, what trades they want to make, what direction they're going to go in free agency. And it just so happens that our Chicago Bears have the number 1 draft pick this year. And I think that's what makes everything intriguing, not only in Chicago, but I think all across the league. I feel like every beat writer, every person that writes about the NFL is talking about that number 1 pick. They're talking about Justin Fields, what's going to happen with Justin Fields. So that's why we had the headline today, and I like some of the reaction of it: trade and betrayed. And
right.
I was like, that's going to get some people upset about it. But the reality is, guys, and we're going to go across the room here. When it comes to this draft this year, I think we can go to a couple of directions. And I think the first one, I've talked about this on our show here a couple of weeks ago. I really believe after last year and last year's draft, because remember, guys, last year's draft was all about the quarterback. Like, the quarterbacks aren't good enough. This is not a quarterback's draft. Well, that's not necessarily true. CJ Stroud proved a lot of us wrong, and they went to the playoffs. And I do believe this year, and not only that, I think that trade between the Bears and the Panthers, or the Bears just pretty much fleeced the Panthers out of that trade, I think teams are a little bit more careful now of if they're trying to go up and get that number 1 pick, because I don't think they want to see what's going to happen to their team. They don't want to see the Panthers. They don't want to be the next Carolina Panthers of everything that they're going to give up. I really think there's some reasoning behind that. I think teams are really checking out on that. So CB, when we talk about Justin Fields here, and we heard Ryan Poles talk about it, saying, and he was very transparent in his press conference, saying that if they do decide to move on from Justin Fields, they're gonna talk to him. They're gonna let him know, and the trade's gonna happen sooner than later. After everything that has gone on, do you think this is inevitable now that Justin Fields is going to be traded?
Well, with all all the conspiracies and everything, and yeah, I'm getting tired of hearing it, but it's all over the place, and there's numerous people saying and doing all kinds of mocks and everything, and where he's gonna go, and it just if you're gonna let something happen, make it sooner rather than later. That way, Justin can get over it and go do his own thing in his new team. But honestly, if Poles has an idea of what he wants to do, which I seen a little skit on TikTok yesterday about it, that if Justin is getting frustrated or whatever, he can go into the front office and ask Poles, what are you going to do with me? What are you going to do with me? And I hope that what I want is Justin to stay and kind of build everything up, but who knows what Poles is thinking, and if he already knows what he's going to do, it's a toss-up. But if we end up going with Caleb Williams, which I wouldn't be happy about, but I'd still support him. But a couple other ways he could go is Marvin Harrison Jr. at 1, or trade down a couple pick spots to get Marvin Harrison again. I don't know. There's, like you said, there's multiple ways we could go, and I think it's a win-win situation either way.
And I think, to make things clear, I think all of us on the show are Justin Fields fans, by the way. I know our headline says trade and betrayed, but at the same time, we all like Justin Fields. I'm a Justin Fields fan. I like the stuff that I saw from him last year. But at the same time, Brian, I want to get your opinion on this too, because I don't think the Bears would be doing anything in the quarterback position if they didn't have the number 1 pick. If they had the 4th pick or the 5th pick in the draft, I think Justin Fields would still be our quarterback next year. But since we made that trade with the Panthers last year, here we are at number 1, and now you have to look at all options. And I truly believe that when you look, they got to think to themselves, listen, maybe we do like Justin Fields a lot, but we also cannot pass out on another CJ Stroud like last year.
Right.
So when you take a look at this draft this year at that number 1 pick, do you kind of feel like that's the direction that they're thinking, where they don't want to give up on that quarterback? Or do you think that they really look at these quarterbacks and say, okay, this is a definite upgrade over Fields?
Yeah, I think I'm in the same camp as you. I don't really believe that even if they had the 3rd pick, that they would even think about trading Justin Fields. I think it's pretty much just locked in. Like Caleb Williams, they see him as a potential upgrade over Justin Fields. They say, I've heard it over and over again, they see Williams' floor is about where Fields is now. So, I mean, if he's not going to be any worse than that, I believe that's why they're doing it. Because if they had, like, say, pick 3, they would definitely take Marvin Harrison Jr., I believe. But I really just it's Caleb Williams is just too much. I mean, for Fields to compete with, I think essentially is what it's all boiling down to. As far as what Ryan Poles said the other day, I really believe that if he had any intention of not trading Fields, then he would have said, Fields is our quarterback, kind of backed him a little bit, but he did nothing.
Oh, he did not say that. No.
No. He just went, like you said, he was pretty transparent with where he was going, but without the transparency of, just black and whiteness, I guess, of it all. But, yeah, so I just think it's just Caleb Williams is going to be, in Poles' eyes, it's just way too much for Fields to handle as far as competing with it. So I say they're probably going to take Caleb Williams number 1 and probably a, best available wide receiver at 9.
What's pretty funny is I was trying to think about this when it comes to transparency, because a lot of times when you get GMs and coaches, they're not going to give you everything, and they shouldn't have to give you everything. That's
right.
That's not their job.
Yeah.
Ryan Poles is the opposite. Like he's up there telling you exactly. I mean, he's still holding things. Listen, do I think they know what they're doing at quarterback? Yes. I think they've all talked about this. They've all done the research. They've been doing the research for months. They know where they're going to go. But for him to be up there to say that and say, hey, we want to get this done. And not only that, but saying, if we do decide to trade Justin Fields, which it sounds like they're going to trade Justin Fields, we want to do it before free agency starts. And I'm like, whoa. I'm like, you're really giving out the timeline and everything. But I also think at the same time, I think that's a good approach, because if you do want to make that trade, you want those teams calling. You want those teams going after you now at that combine. Back to what I was going at. where a lot of the general managers kind of get together at the combine and start working out what they want to do before free agency starts.
Right.
So CB, let's just say, for example, and we kind of think that that's going to happen, Justin Fields is going to get traded. What do you think realistically they could get in return for him?
Realistically, maybe a late second, mid-second maybe. But I say mid-second and maybe a fourth or fifth. But earlier in the offseason, I was saying Max Crosby, and that'd be great, but I don't think that's going to happen. But
Yeah,
I mean,
don't think that's going to happen either.
there's other players that we could pick up in free agency, but I mean, realistically, anywhere in the second, mid-second, late second, but yeah, maybe 2 picks, 3 at the most.
Yeah, I say, and Brian, maybe you could agree. I think second round. I think if you're looking at this, unless a team is very desperate, which it can happen, but I think if you're looking at this, I think it's going to be a second round pick, probably a later pick, maybe a pick in next year's draft that you can put with that. And I was trying to think about that too. I saw the rumors out there with like other ready now players on certain teams. Listen, I don't think the Raiders are trading Max Crosby. I think first off, they'd be foolish to trade that guy. He's the heart and soul of that defense, and if they really wanted a quarterback, I think they're going to find other ways to do that. I just don't think he's going to be part of that deal.
Like 27.
No. But I do think if you look at some of the other rosters that you can Brian, you could probably look at that saying, hey, yes, give us a second round pick, but you know what? Let's take your safety, or let's go and get one of your players that that might be having issues with their contracts this season, or maybe that's a possibility of being a free agent, looking kind of like a Montez Sweat type of deal. Is that how you kind of see that too?
I do. Right now, I'm kind of looking at Atlanta. I'm not quite sure. I know Eric Kramer last week said something about Minkah Fitzpatrick because Bears need a safety, stuff like that. I do believe Bates is down there in Atlanta, right? You think? I just wonder if his salary cap makes him tradable. If, like, say somehow we get a second or a third from Atlanta and Bates in that trade for Justin Fields.
Boy, talk about taking the heart and soul of the defense away, man. That guy was everything for Atlanta last year, man. They won games because of Jesse Bates last year.
Yeah,
I think it's going to be kind of hard to pry away. I just think it's going to be interesting to see where it comes in the end on this.
Yeah.
With Justin Fields. So I don't know, guys. Sooner than later, we're going to get an answer here. Now, with that being said, I think you got to be careful. And first off, thanks to everybody watching today on the Chicago Sports Podcast, Monsters of the Madhouse. Debbie, thank you very much for chiming in. We got Cheryl giving us our Bulls scores like she does every week between the Red Hot Cavaliers and the Bulls. I was watching the Cavaliers the other night with that game-winning shot that they had. They're actually really good. They're playing really well right now. So it's cool to see them keep up with that. So everybody that's watching here on tonight, thank you very, very much for supporting us. You could like and subscribe us on our YouTube channel. I was thinking about this too, guys. So there's a lot of chatter about what you can do in trade in the draft. And yes, what we did with the Panthers last year, that absolutely had to happen because we needed so much on our team. We still need so much on this team. Let's face it. They have a lot of players they need to plug and put in there. But at the same time, I think you also got to be very careful. And this is why I'm glad I'm not a GM, because I'd be really bad at this type of stuff. I think you got to be very careful too when you say, hey, well, let's do that trade again and just get more picks and stuff like that. But at the same time, if you're really going to pass up on another quarterback that could change your franchise, that's a different story. And I keep going to the Houston Texans. The Houston Texans were only supposed to win 3 or 4 games last year. They were not supposed to be any good. And what happens is if you make the right picks, the Bears have 2 top 10 picks. The Texans last year had 2 top 10 picks. If you find those 2 dominant players like they did last year, the quarterback and the linebacker, which both players had phenomenal years, I think that could go a long way. So, Brian, I'll start with you. Let's say they do start with the quarterback, and I think that's what we all think on the show is they're going to go with Justin Fields. They're going to take him. They've got that 9th pick. When you look at to this draft a little bit more, what do you think they do? Do you think they trade that pick, or do you think they stay there and then they build on that?
Just seeing what Ryan Poles likes to do. I know they said last year that when Ryan Poles was at the Senior Bowl, he just kept talking about this is the draft that you want a lot of picks in. So that comment alone, from what I've heard, is, I mean, it's allowing me to think that he's going to trade back. But if he stays there, I think there's going to be a reason for it. Like, say somebody like Neighbors or Adunze is going to fall. or I don't know if he would go alt. I mean, I think they tend to like Jones a lot. So if one of those two guys aren't there, I believe he's going to trade back. I don't know how far he's willing to go back because it gets a little thin after that, or kind of, everybody's like on top of each other as far as their overall rankings go. But I mean, you can still trade back and get that, what's his name, Coleman from Florida State. And if you want to trade back a little later and still get a solid number 2 wide receiver.
This is a great for everything I keep reading. This is a great draft for wide receiver. CB, what do you think? And you never know what you're going to do when it comes to the draft. And Ryan Poles, he's the wild card, but that's why we love him as our general manager. Does he stay at the number 9 pick, or does he trade back, or do you see somebody in this draft that you think would be impactful at that 9th pick?
I think they're going to go wide receiver with 9, but if Ryan Poles works his magic again with that 9th pick and moves back a little bit, he might be able to get another wide receiver like Brian Thomas Jr. or the other guy that I was thinking about was Dallas Turner, edge rusher, and or even if we could get the defensive tackle from Illinois, Jer'Zhan Newton. I think he could play either tackle or slide Dexter out to defensive end, maybe. But I mean, that could be a project to do. But number 9, wide receiver, Brian Thomas or Coleman, like you were saying.
Yeah, I think that's where and I think there's two needs in this draft. When you look at it, offensive lineman, wide receiver, that's where I'd focus on. After that quarterback is picked, I think that's what you really need to focus on and look at. All the mock drafts that I can't. Oh, we almost lost. Oh, there he is. You're back on, CB. I thought we lost you there for a second. Those hotels are dangerous out there, man.
Yeah.
But so
there's no tornado tonight, though.
I know there's no excuse. Well, no, it's cold out there. Is it only like 30 degrees?
Oh, it was -2 this morning with wind chill.
Whew, that's just crazy to me how that can happen, man. When you go from like 70-degree weather to that, and then it feels like winter again. So hopefully everybody stays safe out there. Thank you so much for watching us tonight on Monsters of the Madhouse, the Chicago Sports Podcast. As we are going over everything Combine, we are going everything Bears right now. And it's an interesting draft this year when it comes to the quarterbacks, because the first 3 teams in the draft are going to draft a quarterback. I mean, you got the Bears at number 1. The Patriots are for sure. I mean, I saw rumors that they were thinking of drop. They're not dropping back. They're going to go right. I believe they're going to go right after a quarterback. So, and we talk a lot about Marvin Harrison Jr. To me, I think that's going to be the solid. I think the Cardinals are all over that pick at number 4. I think they've already got that one made up out of their mind to go with Kyler. I think that would be a great combo in Arizona with Marvin Harrison Jr. But Brian, when you look at the draft too, we talk a lot about Caleb Williams, and heck, we've been talking about Caleb Williams for the last 6-7 months since.
He was a pipe dream. We got that pick.
Yeah, pipe dream for everybody. But is there another quarterback out there? I've watched Drake May. Drake May is another intriguing name to me. Watched some of his games. Watched some of his fit. A lot of people out there. A lot of prospects have very high ceiling for this guy. So is there anybody else outside of Caleb that stands out to you?
Jaden Daniels. I mean,
Jaden Daniels is another one.
I'm thinking he's going to go number 2. I really believe Washington's going to end up taking him. They compared him.
Washington was 2, New England 3. I had that wrong. Correct.
Yeah. I believe Washington will take him at 2. Just for the simple fact they've been comparing him to Lamar Jackson with a more accurate arm. They use the word better a lot, but I don't think they actually mean that. I think they focus more on accuracy, because Lamar Jackson's on record for saying he could throw it the length of the field when he was in high school. So I don't know how accurate that is either. But I mean, that's just really his words, is not anybody else's.
You know what's pretty crazy about you talk about Washington at number 2, and think about the first 2 teams in this draft. If you're a quarterback, look at the number 1 wide receivers you're going to. You're going to DJ Moore and Terry McLaurin on Washington. Could you normally the first couple picks of the draft, you don't have those type of playmakers, but I'm like, man, if you're either one of those quarterbacks, right away you got to be like, oh, that's going to be awesome. I already got a number 1 and now we just got to hope for the team to build around that.
Yeah, I didn't even consider that. I forgot all about McLaurin being there, and then I mean that's another quarterback's dream right there too. I mean, you got DJ Moore or McLaurin. You can't do wrong either way.
Yeah, I'd have to look back to take a look in some of the past drafts because normally you don't have those type of playmakers in those first couple of the first couple of teams in those drafts. So, CB, is there any quarterback that stands out to you? We were just talking about Daniels, May, Williams. How about for you? Would you suggest would you prefer another quarterback except for Caleb Williams?
I would say it kind of drops off a little bit, and it goes Bo Nix, JJ McCarthy, Florida State quarterback. What's his name? I forgot. Dang it. Anyway, JJ McCarthy, his gutsy performance in the playoff. I mean, until he got to the national championship, he kind of like fell off a little bit. But he's another name that I would like to have. But Harbaugh already said he was going to try to go for him. So.
Well, yeah. Well, boy, would that be a reunion or what? You know, I was just looking at the top 10 orders of the draft right now because after the first 3 picks, they're all going to be quarterbacks. The Patriots, Washington, they're all taking quarterbacks. I think Harrison will go 4. I'd be surprised if he doesn't go 4 to the Cardinals. Then you got the Chargers. But then it gets interesting because number 6 is the New York Giants. I don't know what they're going to do. They got Daniel Jones, but Daniel Jones, I mean, the Daniel Jones talk has been heating up a little bit more. He got hurt. I get it, but is he a number 1 quarterback? We don't know the answer to that. So does the Giants stay there? And then the Falcons are at number 8. So, but the Falcons are also one of the many teams rumored for Justin Fields. I think Justin Fields, if he's going to get traded that way, I think the Falcons would be a perfect fit for him.
No, absolutely.
I think with that team and that team where they're going right now, they got a defense already made. They got playmakers on that side. I think Justin Fields would be perfect fit for that. But so it's wondering, do you think when you look, you just mentioned McCarthy and Nix, do you think CB, do you think it would be not, you don't go that high for one of those quarterbacks for one of those teams in this draft. You wait to the second round.
Yeah. In my head, I was just thinking about this. What happens if we keep Fields and at number 1, we go with Marvin Harrison Jr.? Where does Caleb Williams go? Right to Washington, hometown kid. But with New York Giants and Giants and Atlanta's a perfect fit for Justin Fields, but I don't know where their draft picks are. I know the one is at 8.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Atlanta's got number 8.
Trading Justin Fields to their perfect fit, but what do we get back in return from them? So with Fields going to Atlanta and Daniel Jones being up in New York, I mean, it's just like the tale of two-headed coin. Justin Fields got traded to Chicago, basically, and now he has the opportunity to possibly go back to New York. So,
yeah, I that's why I'm so excited for this year because I think, unlike the last couple of years, this draft's gonna be very intriguing because there was a lot of bad teams in the NFL last year. Let's just face it. There was a lot of bad to mediocre teams in the NFL there's a lot of teams that need quarterbacks out there. And this draft's got a lot of them. So do some of these teams pick a little higher for a quarterback? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. It's going to be fun to watch this and how this all plays out. Well, thank you guys for watching tonight on the Chicago Sports Podcast, Monsters of the Madhouse, on our Facebook page. Make sure you guys follow us along. We have news all day long about everything going on in Chicago sports. All of our team does such an awesome job, so you can keep up to date with that. We have our YouTube channel as well. You can like and subscribe to our show on YouTube, and you can also watch us on Twitter. So many different ways that you guys can watch us. We have many different shows throughout the week. We'll have Pinky on tomorrow night. They're going to be talking beers. They're going to be talking everything Chicago sports. So make sure you guys follow us along, and we'll keep you up to date with everything going on. Also want to talk to you guys about our good friends at Underdog Fantasy, because I'll tell you what, baseball season is is almost here. We're a couple of weeks away. I cannot wait. I'm already trying to figure out if I want a vacation day to go to White Sox home opener, and I think I'm going to, even though we're not going to be good this year. But I still want to go because it's always so much fun.
But hey, they're getting a new stadium.
Yeah, we're gonna get a new stadium in a couple of years. So you got to go to the rate. I'll call it to the rate to take it all in.
You're gonna get one for the Bears, dude.
Yeah, hey, dude, that's another show, man. We can talk about someday. Chicago Sports Podcast, Underdog Fantasy. Use the special CSP promo code when you go to underdogfantasy.com. Match up to you'll receive a $100 deposit. Match up to $100 when you use that sign-in code. Get 5 picks right, and you can multiply your money by 20 times. It's so much fun. That's underdogfantasy.com, and you can start taking a look around too, especially as we get ready for baseball. Heck, the tournament's in just a couple of weeks. I mean, there's no better time. I mean, March is here this weekend, so I cannot wait to talk basketball here. Although, Brian, I know you being in Louisville right now, I have a good feeling that they're not going to the tournament at all, are they?
No, God. They're so bad. I forget the team at times. I'm a UK fan, though. So
okay, yeah, so that doesn't matter to you.
The tournament to begin with. But, I mean, I find a little enjoyment in U of L being so bad.
Like a lot of UK fans out in Louisville. So it's going to be fun here. We're going to be talking a lot about that coming up in the next couple of weeks because that's always a fun time of the year because I think those 2 days, and we'll talk about it more, but those 2 days, the first 2 days of the tournament, so many people take off. I mean, you take those days off of work, you go out all day long and just drink and watch games. And there's nothing better than that. So that's why I love this time of the year, guys. We're going to talk more basketball and baseball coming up over the next couple of weeks. We talked a lot about Justin Fields today, rightfully so. Everything going on at the Combine this week. There's also another name that's been brought up for the Bears a couple of times, and that is Jalen Johnson, a guy that we have talked about on our show too. Jalen Johnson, who is going to be a free agent, however, could be tagged as well. But I think you don't mess around with this one. Listen, Jalen Johnson had a heck of a year last year. I think out of all the moves that the Bears make here, even before they start free agency, they got all that cap room. Number one on that list is to get this guy signed. You need that lockdown cornerback. He was a lockdown cornerback last year. I think he's the best cornerback on the market. Listen, I like Snead a lot for the Chiefs, who I think they tagged him earlier today. Snead, L'Jarius Sneed out of the Chiefs, but I don't think Snead's as good as Jalen Johnson. I think Jalen Johnson's the guy you want to keep. So, Brian, we'll start with you, man. When we get ready here to start free agency, number one priority, get Jalen Johnson signed. Do not tag him, sign him, and get him locked in.
Absolutely. Yeah, you've got to sign him. I mean, I think he's only going to get better, in my opinion. So he's probably the best young cornerback in the league right now. But I mean, you got to sign him. I mean, I don't know what he could possibly go for. Probably somewhere in the around $20 million a year, somewhere in that range. But you definitely got to sign him. I seen something where somebody, it was on one of them shows. I don't know if it's Get Up or not. They brought up the fact that you can move Stevenson to safety to fill Eddie Jackson's role, sign Johnson back there, move keep Terrell Smith as the other starting corner. I think that's a stretch.
I think that's a stretch too. Yeah.
I really just don't think they watch any Bears games because Stevenson's that he's going to be that good too. I believe so. So but number one priority definitely this offseason is definitely sign Jalen Johnson back, and then probably try to get some type of pass rusher in free agency. I was thinking Danielle Hunter.
Yeah, before we get that, Danielle Hunter is a name that I was going to bring up here in a little bit. But CB, I want to talk to you because I was watching Poles' press conference. And he said it. He wants to, to get this done. But it also sounded to me, too, and this is why I love our Poles, because I feel like he's just so transparent about everything. It sounded also to me, it's like, all right, guys, this is what we want to do, but the ball is in your court. And say, hey, we want to get this deal done, but now we got to make this happen. So, CB, do you think do you think this deal gets done sooner than later, or does this drag out into free agency, or do they franchise tag him?
I feel like there might be a deal done right before free agency, kind of like Cody Bellinger. But, I mean, with Jalen Johnson, like you guys said, he's the best corner on the market, and he's demanding quite a bit of money. But Poles needs to get this done, and if he doesn't, he's going to drop the ball and he's going to go somewhere else, just like Roquan, and just be a baller. I mean, Roquan didn't go into free agency, but I mean, same deal. I know you guys were just talking about safety, and that's a big concern this offseason. And there's a few that I was going to name too, Winfield and the guy from the Patriots. I forget his name.
I think Winfield got tagged by the Bucs.
Did he get tagged?
I think he got tagged. I'm almost positive he got tagged. We can double check on that though.
But a couple other names: Bryce Huff, defensive end; Brian Burns. A couple guys that I've been looking at. But with Jalen Johnson, I really hope that Polis gets a deal done, because I don't know what it is about Utah guys. They come up and they're just solid players.
Yeah, I agree. I'm trying to find out here. I can't find anything. I'm almost positive.
I've heard that too. I don't know if they actually did it or they're just talking about doing it.
Yeah, I'm trying to. We'll find that out, but I'm almost positive he did get tagged. So I agree with you as far as Winfield. I think that would have been the guy you would go after in the free agency. He was the best one on the market for that. Definitely. So it definitely makes sense that they were trying to get him and save him back out of all the other things that the Buccaneers got to do too. So yeah, you guys all make good valid points. I think this is number 1, 1A, 1B, 1C, everything on that list. Get this guy back before you do anything else. Sign him, give him that money. We need to have them back. And I think we saw that presence last year when he didn't play in that Green Bay game, that final game of the year. You saw how important he was to this defense and to this team.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's better than Sauce Gardner, personally. I mean, but I'm a little biased, obviously, being a Bears fan. But, I mean, I think he's the best young corner in the league.
Yeah, I think you could make an argument he's one of the top 5, top 6 best corners in the league. As we talk here, free agency, that's going to be starting here very soon. You're already starting to see some of the teams release players. We saw Valdez-Scantling get released earlier today from the Chiefs. I mean, does it matter for the Chiefs? They'll just go find another Valdez-Scantling. They'll go find another guy, plug him in, and they'll be just fine next year, I'm sure.
Darnell Mooney.
Yeah, they'll probably. Well, yeah, you know what? They'll probably replace him with Darnell Mooney. Yeah, I would not be surprised if Darnell Mooney is playing for the Chiefs next year.
Right. I wouldn't.
You see, like some teams that need to free up some money, like the Dolphins, really making a couple of moves. They release Xavier Howard, or they're about to ready to release him. And this is going to happen here soon, especially after the combine, before free agency starts, so people can get their ducks in place. And we start taking a look at that. I think to me, the most important thing to build a football team is to do the draft. Draft first, free agency second. And you got to take a look at the draft, and you got to pinpoint those young players that you think are valuable and where you can put them in that can be there for the next 3 or 4 years, like a wide receiver, like a center, whatever you have on your board that you think you could fill in. I think you go that way. But then you look at some of the free agents this year, and somebody brought up Danielle Hunter. Did somebody brought up Danielle Hunter? Danielle Hunter, great player, very good player. He had a great year for the Vikings last year. Going to demand a lot of money. Like, you're going to have to pay a lot of money. A lot of your resources are going to have to go to him if that's who you're going to target. So if you're going to put a deal together for Jalen Johnson and Danielle Hunter, that's going to be taking up a lot of your money in cap space. So Brian, Danielle Hunter, who I mean, you can't imagine him on the same team with Montez Sweat and what that playmaking ability could be. What do you think that he deserves a max contract in free agency?
He's going to get it. The only concern I really have with Danielle Hunter, I think, is when he has injuries, they're major injuries. Mm-hmm. I say, didn't he tear like his chest or something like that?
He did the year before that. He did, yes.
Yeah, I mean, I would love him. Another thing that, or another prospect I like to have, I guess a free agent I'd like to have, is that dude, the 3 technique from Baltimore. Was it Matabuke or something like that? I think I mispronounced.
Another team that's in salary cap that they're trying to watch on their salary cap because
but if you even get one of those two, Danielle Hunter or that guy, I mean, your defensive line's looking pretty set. I mean, you just feel that one in for throw up a Hail Mary and try to get one in the draft, and rounds 3 or 4 or something like that. Fill in that spot wherever you go. I don't know what Zach Pickens is going to do, or Javon Dexter, if they're going to evolve over the the offseason or something like that.
They look promising though.
They do. But they both looked really raw last year, but they picked up towards the end. So they both look like they have some serious promise to them. So just really how they evaluate them during the offseason and what they're going to do in free agency too.
Yeah, Stevie, when we take a look at free agency as it gets ready here in just a couple of weeks, Danielle Hunter is the big name out there. You're going to be paying a lot of money to him, but is there anybody else that catches your attention, or is Danielle Hunter the guy that you think could be that difference maker on that defense?
Are we just talking about defensive end or in general?
In general, yes.
Okay. Like I said, the safety from the Patriots, I'm looking at, and he's still pretty decently young.
The Duggar,
What's that?
is it Kyle Duggar?
Yeah, I think so. Let's see. I know that Mooney will be leaving, so probably I don't know who's coming out in free agency with wide receiver. Maybe try to give Dante Foreman a smaller contract before he leaves, or just let him walk maybe, but possibly guard, maybe sign another center with Cushenberry, or
he's the number one name out there.
Yeah. But
yeah,
the center from the Seahawks, what's his name? Evans, I think, or Evan Brown, I think is his name. He played in Waldron's system. He might be a good pickup.
Yes, and the center. So when you look at the priorities for this team, I do think center is number one. Probably the number one most priority outside of your number one pick with the quarterback, because our center play just wasn't there last year for us, and we need a fresh start on that. And I think a couple of offensive linemen too. So it's going to be interesting to see. Especially as free agency gets ready here, and it's going to happen here over the next week or so too, guys. Like there's going to be some teams where they're going to have veterans on their teams that are going to need some teams are going to say, hey, maybe we need a fresh start somewhere. Like
did T. Higgins get franchise tag?
T. Higgins got franchise tag. So here's what I think has happened here in the most important part outside of trying to figure out what's going to be the number one pick. I think in the last 5 days, the most important thing that happened in the NFL is the salary cap went up. Because that salary cap went up $30 million. I did not expect it to go up that much. And these teams that were kind of right there in the middle or over the
salary cap. Thank you, Taylor Swift.
I was going to say, Taylor Swift.
All the revenue that came in last year. Yeah, thank you, Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift for that. I mean, $30 million, that's a lot of money. I can't remember the salary cap going up that much. It's been a long time. So what I think has happened now is teams like the Bengals, who were kind of right there and wondering, hey, do we have enough money to pay T. Higgins? Well, now we do. I mean, our salary cap just went up $30 million. Guess what happened the next day? T. Higgins gets franchise tag. Even the same thing with the Chiefs, even though the Chiefs made some moves, same thing. Snead looks like he's got franchise tag. So I think in a big way, this has changed the landscape of free agency because there's going to be more franchise tags out there and teams have a little bit more money. Because I do think there's other players out there that might need a difference, maybe need to go like a change of scenery on some of these teams. And I mean, the first person that comes to my mind, Christian Jones, who is the stud for the Chiefs, who I think would be foolish to let him go. But at the same time, is that a guy that, you know what, they're going back and forth. You remember last year, Christian Jones went through that process of trying to sign. Held out. Finally, they said, "Okay, we'll get you on a 1-year deal. You can make your money. We'll get us another ring." And sure enough, he did. So, does a player like that need a fresh start somewhere else? Is there anything, Brian, when you think about the NFL or certain teams, maybe certain teams in our division, that you look at some of the veterans on those teams that might need a fresh start somewhere else?
The initial name that comes to mind is Saquon Barkley. I mean, I really think he could have that Christian McCaffrey effect somewhere else. I mean, like he's on a team that just is not going anywhere. McCaffrey was at Carolina. He gets traded to somewhere, and suddenly he's not injury prone anymore. I don't know what part of Christian McCaffrey was soft tissue, but I mean, he's coming to mind. You said Chris Jones. I don't know if he's going anywhere. I know he said, I don't know how much he was caught in a moment, but he said that he's not going anywhere specifically. And they said, I bet his agent loves that.
Oh, of
So
course.
he just
Yeah,
lost
his
all-
agent's like, dude, what the hell are you doing, man?
Imagine Chris Jones going to Detroit, man.
Yeah.
Oh,
But Saquon Barkley is somebody I would like to see go somewhere else. And I mean, they're just wasting his career down there or up there, I should say, in New York. So,
you bring up a good point there, Brian, because when you start looking at some of these running backs, some of these veterans like Derrick Henry is the other name that comes to my mind. Now, listen, the Titans are going through a rebuild right now, and they got a new head coach. They're going to have their rookie quarterback playing next year, so they're kind of getting a fresh start. But Derrick Henry, who is the heart and soul of that team for a long time, that's the next guy that I think of when it comes to maybe that we need to go to another team and get a different start. CB, we talk about some of the running backs. Darnell Mooney, we've mentioned his name a couple of times. I think if he went to a team like the Chiefs, he would flourish in that system. He's got the best quarterback in the world and his old coach. Is there anybody else that you think of that would benefit from a different style?
Somebody that came to mind. Did he get franchise tag? Mike Evans.
He did not get franchise tagged.
That's a big name that I think might be on the move, but I don't know if the Bucs will let him go for Baker to let him cook with him again. But let's see.
Mike Evans is that's another great name.
Can't afford him.
What's the situation going with Russell Wilson?
I don't know. I mean, obviously they want to move on from him in the worst way. I think the last thing I read about Russell Wilson is they were looking for trade opportunities for him out there, and there seemed like there was very little interest, as you can imagine. There's very little interest for him out there. But I think that Russell Wilson experiment for the last 2 years in Denver has been a complete disaster.
Mm-hmm. And that just might be scheme. Some guys just don't fit well. But, I mean, when he went to Denver, I thought it was going to work, but obviously it didn't.
No, it did not. In every way, it did not.
Right. But let's see.
Well, I like where you're going with Mike Evans because that's an interesting name too, and a guy that's later part of his career. I mean, when he was healthy last year, he looked incredible.
I know somebody else.
Who's that?
Kyle Pitts.
Kyle Pitts, yeah, Atlanta, the great tight end.
I know he's still on contract, but I mean, they were talking about him getting traded to possibly Chicago, and that'd be crazy having Kmet and Pitts on each side.
Yeah, he just didn't have the effect that I always thought he would. I don't know
Right.
if it was
I think it was that first year for me. I thought that first year he had a really good rookie year. And then you're right, Brian. After that, you didn't hear a whole lot. Like, he's still a very good player. And I think I would love to have him on our team.
Didn't they have a quarterback turntable or something?
They've had that too.
With Ritter and
went from Matt Ryan to
Ritter, the Cincinnati quarterback. Yeah.
Somehow got Taylor Heineke or something involved.
Yeah, Taylor Heineke, who didn't play well last year either.
Right.
So that's why we when we opened up the show today, that's why I said when we were talking about Justin Fields being traded, I think there's no better fit than the Atlanta Falcons. And I think if I'm him and he knows that he's getting traded, I'm his agent, I am whispering and doing everything in the Bears are, could you please get me to Atlanta? And I would, because I think if Justin Fields goes to Atlanta, I think that team's going to be a very good team. With those weapons that they have there and that defense, kind of reminds me of the Bears in a way. But anytime you got a player like Bijan Robinson in the backfield and in the wide receiving core that they have, I think that's a great fit for him. And we'll find out. Hopefully we find out here soon, guys, because they said if that happens, it's going to happen before the trade deadline. Thank you guys for watching the Chicago Sports Podcast, Monsters of the Madhouse. We appreciate all of you guys, all of your support. I want to say hello to Cheryl. I want to say hello to the different people that have been chiming in tonight. We appreciate your feedback and your comments. You can find us on our Facebook page, and make sure you follow us along on our Facebook page too, guys, because we post all day long about all the things going on in Chicago sports. Cleet, our guy Cleet does awesome. I can't even tell you how great of a job this guy does when it comes to writing articles about certain things going on. He's a great writer. Brandon Tracks Hyatt, the guy that created everything here for all of us to be on. We appreciate everything from them, and they've done an awesome job. And you guys as well. So like and subscribe our YouTube channel. Check out some of our past shows. And we got more shows coming up. We got Pinky tomorrow night. You guys can watch him. Their crew is awesome. I love catching them. If I don't catch them on Thursday nights, what I do, guys, is I catch them Friday mornings when I go to the gym. I put it on and I listen to them because they crack me up. So there's going to be some Bears talk with them tomorrow night, so you can check them out right here on this channel that you guys are watching right now.
Hey, before we go on to the next segment, I wanted to ask you guys, did you guys hear about the Adrian Peterson dilemma?
I did not see anything about Adrian Peterson.
Apparently he's gone broke and he was selling all of his trophies or something like that, and he's in financial trouble.
That's crazy to me. And it's sad. And I shouldn't say I'm surprised when you hear a story like that, because you see these stories that happen in all sports. And it's not just guys blowing all their money, and that's a lot of times they blow their money, but sometimes they have agents and that they have very shady people that are around them. But Adrian Peterson played a very long time and at a high level, and even when he left the Vikings, he still played good football and was still making money. So it's sad to see those type of stories, especially with one of the all-time greats for the Vikings.
Didn't he get in some really bad trouble a few years ago for domestic or something like that?
He did.
And I think that's a lot of where his money went too.
It's just, you hate seeing stories like that. So we hope and hope for the best, and keep an eye on stories like that too, because it's just sad when you hear that. A lot of football talk on the show tonight, guys, and rightfully so. There was a lot going on this week. I do want to get a little bit of baseball in, because there's also news about the Cubs, and we've talked a lot about this guy's name a lot, Cody Bellinger. I thought in the end he was going to come back to the Cubs. I just didn't think there was a big market out there for him, and it didn't sound like there was a market out there for him. But I think what we're all surprised about is that contract. He didn't get that contract that we all thought he was going to get, because it sounded like that in the beginning of the season, that he was going to get that 6-year, whatever, $250, $300 million contract. But what's happened in baseball is a lot of teams, Scott Boras said it himself, there was a lot of teams from last year that just weren't spending this year. There's a lot of teams in general that aren't putting out those big contracts like they once were. And a lot of reason for that is, I think the Diamondbacks got a lot to do with that last year. I think a lot of teams saw what they saw in the Diamondbacks. Is it a once-in-a-lifetime thing? Maybe. But at the same time, the Diamondbacks did it the right way. They got a stud superstar player in Corbin, and he's amazing, and they built around him. They made the right trades, and sure enough, they're in the World Series. Even the Texas Rangers that won the World Series last year, yes, they made those big contract signings of Corey Seager and Marcus Semien a couple years ago. They have built up around their team from their team. So a lot of teams are finding ways like, we need to build with our young players. We need to get our young players. Why are we spending so much money on some of these guys? It's not going to be good for us later in the long run. I think that's where it starts, Brian, when you look at Cody Bellinger. But at the same time, he's still going to be making $20 million this year. If he goes out there, has that great year that we all think he's going to, he could opt out and try to get that big deal. Do you think this is the right deal for him?
I do. From what I was hearing about today, was it Jesse Rogers? He was reporting on that. He really thinks the GM just read him right. He's like, this is your market. We know there's no other value for you right now as far as a long-term deal. You're not going to get that, so I'm just going to sit here and wait you out till you come back to me.
Yes, pretty much.
I mean, that's pretty much it. That,
thanks, Cheryl.
Came in a nutshell,
I think the market out there. And Stevie, do you think too, when you think of Cody Bellinger's career too, last year awesome with the Cubs, play center field, first base, great hitter, great on the bases. I mean, everything about a fine tool player like he is. He's one of them. But before that, with the Dodgers DFA'd him before he went to the Cubs, and he had 2 bad years with the Dodgers. Do you think there's other teams out there that kind of had that in the back of their mind, like, you know what? Maybe 1 year is not enough to pay this guy $250 million. Let's see him do this again for a second year. And then if he does that, okay, maybe the old Cody Bellinger is back.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. Like, GMs are just going to stay their course, and if he decided to come down on his contract, and so be it, and they probably would pay around what the Cubs are paying for Bellinger. But now that he is back with Chicago, I am happy. I've been wanting this to happen again because he had a good rapport with Chicago and had a good year. And hopefully he can hit over 200 and show everybody wrong, or the old Bellinger again, and get back to playing good baseball like he did last year. So
And what I also think this does too is you get that left-handed bat now in that lineup, and you're going from a team that I honestly, without Bellinger, I looked at that when you look at that lineup and pitching, I was like, I don't know. I don't know if they're contenders to win the division or not. Maybe they compete, but I do think now with him back in there, Brian, that they are going to be the contenders for the division. They should be the favorites to win the division, especially with Craig Counsell as a manager. And what I like about this too, didn't
the Brewers lose Corbin Burnes too?
They got Woodruff back and they traded Burnes.
Yes.
They traded him to the Orioles, which I thought that was a great trade for the Orioles. I think they're going to be one of the best teams in the league this year. But Brian, what I like about this with the Cubs too, the Cubs have a very strong farm system. They got a great minor league players coming up. Pete Crow Armstrong is one of those players who's a center fielder, and I kind of feel like maybe he's not ready yet. He's good. He needs a little bit more work, but what they can do now is put Bellinger there in center field. And then if I think Pete Crow Armstrong is ready, Bellinger can go play some first base. You bring him up, and then you get him ready for next year.
Yeah, I mean that's ideal. I mean, I'd like to see him keep Bellinger longer than this, but I mean it's. If you got that kind of farm system, I'm not familiar with that as far as Cubs farm system as apparently you are, but if he's as good as as advertised, then yeah, I mean you definitely can use that as leverage. I mean for Bellinger's future contract, even if you want to keep him,
What I think this does too, CV. When you look at Bellinger, I think he makes players better in that lineup. And the other player that I'm going to be watching for the Cubs this year is Christopher Morel. Christopher Morel, he found it last year. He's a great hitter. He had a great second half of that season. He performed well. I'm a little worried about his defense. I know third base is going to be kind of a key question for them. Is he going to be able to play third? I hope he does. I hope he can go out there, play some good defense because that bat could be there. But when you look at a player outside of Cody Bellinger in this lineup, Christopher Morel, to me, is the next one that I'm kind of keeping an eye on. Do you think with the signing of Bellinger, guys like Christopher Morel and maybe others like Ian Happ or whoever you want to pick out in the Cubs lineup, this makes them better?
Yeah. Morel and Dansby, obviously. And with Bellinger playing first base, Ian Happ out in the outfield, and Seiya Suzuki, he came on a little bit late last year and was smoking the ball. And, I mean, we don't have that all-star catcher, but, I mean, he did a good job behind the plate last year. Yan Gomez, he was pretty solid. But, I mean, overall, our roster doesn't look that bad. And we have like four left-handed starting pitchers or three, something like that. But I mean, as long as our starting pitching staff and bullpen can hold up, I think we can be contenders too.
I can't wait, guys, because we got lots of time to talk about baseball. Opening day is one of my favorite days of the year. I know it's over. Listen, is it kind of overrated? Yes, there's a lot of baseball games, but what I like about it is, baseball season's back. Even going to opening day is so much fun. That's why I'm doing everything I can to try to make it to White Sox opening day. I'm trying to take off of work. I'm trying to get back to Chicago, be with my family, be with my friends, and be out there tailgating all day long because there's just nothing like it. And we have a lot to talk about when it comes to baseball season because it's going to be the Cubs that we're going to be talking about. There's not, unless the White Sox surprise us, there's going to be a lot of Cubs talk on this show.
A lot of surprise.
Yeah. Unless they somehow surprise us. And I hope they do. Believe me, I hope they do.
Everything's better
when they're when is Cubs opening day? I haven't even looked at the schedule yet.
It's the end of March. So I believe March 28th, 29th. I can't remember the exact
date, man.
But it's going to be that last week. So
right when I go back to work.
I know it's going into Easter weekend. That's all I do know that. So we'll be talking a lot about baseball here.
Normally it's right on my birthday, like around the 1st or 2nd of April.
Dude, you need to tell your work, man. Hey, back the hell off me. I know you guys got me going through school and stuff, but it's time for me to go to opening day.
I've been laid off for the last 4 months. So
that doesn't matter, man. You don't need hey, you know what you do, CB? You go to our guy that runs the show, Brandon Tracks High, and say, Brandon, can you just write me out a ginormous check and just maybe covered here for the next couple of months?
Man, I already tried
that. Sorry, Brandon. I didn't mean to say that. Thank you guys for watching Chicago.
Yeah, he's waiting on his check still.
Thank you guys for watching this Chicago Sports Podcast tonight. Monsters of the Madhouse. We couldn't do it without TC's World of Wonders. Heck, we were just talking about baseball season. You got to get that jersey. I got to get a new jersey. I need a new Southside jersey. So I'm going to be going to TC World of Wonders. You can check them out at tcsworldofwonders.com. Budget Cars. It's family owned, serving Chicagoland and Northwest Indiana since 1972. Call 219-874-5180. Serendipity Ice Cream Parlor. You can check them out, Northwest Indiana. And also want to say Scoreboard, Bridges Scoreboard Restaurant. We love that place. They've done so much for us on our show here. Brandon's had many different shows out there as well. And they're also in Northwest Indiana. Bridges Scoreboard, their food is great. Their wings, I've had their wings the time I was out there. They were delicious. They got that menu set up for you. So check them out, bridgesscoreboard.com. And to everybody else that has watched the show tonight, we want to thank you for checking us out in our groups. We want to say hello to Debbie, a couple of Facebook users on there. Also want to say hello to Cheryl, giving us our basketball, our Bulls updates as they're playing the Cavaliers tonight.
Are the Hawks playing tonight?
Every night. The Hawks are not. They're playing tomorrow night, actually. They'll be playing tomorrow night, and you guys can keep update of the news and everything going on with all of our Chicago sports teams. So make sure you like and subscribe our YouTube channel. Check out some of our shows, and also on our Facebook feed as well. Well, guys, I want to thank you for being here today. Brian, it's good to see you, man, out in beautiful Louisville. Listen, dude, we love your Mitch Trubisky jersey. We've had people comment on that, say, "Hey, man, that's awesome that he's got the Mitch Trubisky jersey out there."
Yeah. It's never even worn. Still got the tags on it. Just got his autograph on there, rookie year kind of thing. So,
oh, please, just his autograph. You were wearing that jersey nonstop, man. Please, come on now. Don't be lying to
straight
us.
up pin. I can move it there. You still got the tag right there.
I know, man. It's brand new. It looks great.
Yeah,
so.
I knew I was going to training camp. I was like, I'm going to run him down. And I think, what was it, like 2 days later, we signed Khalil Mack. So I was like, oh, man, I just missed this training camp day by one day.
Oh,
or
man.
2 days.
Money Mitch.
Mm-hmm.
Well, CB, it's been a couple weeks. We're happy to have you back on. I know you're in the somewhere. You're in a hotel somewhere for work, and that's what we love about you, man. Because you're out there. You got your Busch Lights, man. And you're ready to talk sports tonight.
Yes, sir. Always a pleasure. And I'm trying to be up to date. It's been a couple weeks. I've been real busy. I had a church I had to paint last week, so I really didn't get much time.
Well, man, you go out there and make that money and make your family proud, and we love you. We're glad you're here. Brian, we're glad you're here. Thank you guys for being part of the show. And to everybody else that has watched the show tonight, make sure you check out Pinky's show tomorrow night right here on Monsters of the Madhouse and our YouTube channel. So they're going to be talking Bears. There's a lot going on this week at the NFL Combine. They'll keep you up to date with everything going on. So thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for being on the show. Let's do it again next week.
Absolutely.
All right, guys. Hope you all have a wonderful night.